Good morning, good afternoon, or good night, and welcome to Command Power, the show in which we discuss all things Magic the Gathering with a focus on Commander. And today we are doing our second in our series of card spotlights, but before that, if you enjoy this channel, don't forget to subscribe. It really helps the channel because we're growing right now. In any case, the card I wanted to be talking about today is Chaos Defiler. Now this card is absolutely amazing. It may not seem like much, and in fact, I think there wasn't much hype around this card during spoiler season for Warhammer 40k, because those decks are just so fantastic and so stacked with amazing cards that this kind of slipped under the radar a little bit. But let me tell you, this card is amazing. I've played with it in quite a few different decks and it just never fails to perform. So this card has a few things going for it, starting off with the type line. It is an artifact creature, which is not as irrelevant as you might think on a Rakdos card. There's actually quite a few Rakdos commanders these days that care about artifacts. So for example, Megatron, which I've been playing a lot lately, absolutely loves this card. The new Mishra commanders from the Brothers War all love this card. So before we move on to the actual abilities, it's just worth noting that the artifact type is actually relevant and useful here. Then we have the body. It's a 5/4 trampler for 5. That is pretty solid, but of course we're mostly here for the ability. And the reason the ability is so stellar and so outstanding in Rakdos is because it can hit enchantments. So anyway, as you know, Rakdos doesn't have a way to deal with enchantments. So yeah, it's really powerful that you can get an enchantment out of the way, even if it is at random. So I think people are a little bit thrown off by the fact that this happens randomly, but let's be honest, you're going to choose 3 targets that are all going to be really strong and really powerful, and you're probably going to be happy with whatever happens either way. That being said, there's still a 33% chance that you're going to hit, so the odds aren't even that bad anyway. It's pretty likely that you'll hit what you want to hit, or that you'll at least get something big out of the way. It's also a card that's kind of fun because opponents can't really get too mad at you when you kill the stuff with this, because you didn't really have any control over what it targeted. That's really nice. But what really makes this card stand out is when it triggers. It triggers both on enter the battlefield and dying. So that's great because it means you don't need to attack with it first. You don't need to get in damage. You just play it and immediately get an effect. Even if you just got that one effect, it would probably still be a pretty good card and you'd be pretty happy with it, considering the stats and the fact that you're removing something. It's a 2-for-1. But the thing is, it also triggers when it dies. So it's basically a guaranteed 3-for-1 in most situations. And here's the thing, you're playing this in a deck that's going to be able to recur it. So you can play it in an artifact deck that can get it back. You can play it in an aristocrats deck where you're going to be able to sacrifice it and remove 2 things. That's really good. You can play it in any kind of aggro deck where this is just going to swing in and they're eventually going to have to remove it because it's a 5/4 trample. It's not irrelevant. There are plenty of ways to abuse creatures with enter the battlefield and die abilities. So this is just really solid. 2 decks that it's been very good in so far in our meta are my Megatron deck, because it's just so good that you can kind of play it and then you can sack it immediately, getting 2 triggers right on the spot and dealing 5 damage with Megatron to something. It's just really good. Then you can also play it in Henzi, which is my friend's deck, and he's been playing this to fantastic effect there. It gets its cost reduced by Henzi and it can cost as little as 2 mana, and then because it has Blitz, you're going to get to sacrifice it immediately at end of turn and draw a card. So it's basically going to remove 2 of the biggest problem permanents on the board, swing in for 5, and draw you a card all for like 3 or 4 mana. It's just really good in that deck. There's a bunch of other decks where it can be good too, such as Chainer, Nightmare, Adept, where you can keep casting it from the graveyard over and over and hopefully sacrificing it as well. So it's just solid in a lot of different decks. Initially it doesn't look that good, but if you play with this just for a little bit, you'll see that it's actually amazing. There was one game where we basically just kept reanimating it and people were just groaning by the end because of how good it is and how much stuff it is removing. Give it a try if you haven't yet and you will not be disappointed, and at only $1.30 at the moment, this is an absolute steal that you should definitely be picking up. Alright, so there you have it. That has been our video on Chaos Defiler. What are your thoughts on this card? Do you think it is as underrated as I think it is? Please let me know in the comment section below. I read all comments and respond to all of them too. And if you enjoyed this video, don't forget to click like, comment, and subscribe. And until next time, take care.